Do you want to make your LEGO fight scenes go from this to this? Hi, I'm MLA Productions, and I make stop-motion animations. Now, I'm far from perfect when it comes to animating, but it's been over 6 years since I started, and I've learned a lot about making awesome fight scenes over that time. In this video, I'll give you all the basics in making a LEGO fight scene. Let's start with the essentials. So what you're going to need to get started is a phone and a stop-motion app. I use vvbstudio Pro, but there are lots of options. You also need a set. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but a good set really elevates it. At the very least, you should have a decent-sized base plate for the ground, and one for the background. Lighting is also an important factor. I use 2 LED lamps. It's also important to block out all natural light so it doesn't make the lighting look shaky in the film. Make sure to close all doors and windows, and make your room as dark as possible before using your lamps. Finally, you need at least 2 minifigures, otherwise it won't be much of a fight. Once you have all that stuff, you'll be ready to animate. Wait. Speaking of minifigures, this video is sponsored by minifigs.me, who sent me these 3 awesome custom minifigures from the Thunderbolts movie. Now, Thunderbolts is one of my favorite Marvel movies, so when I found out that LEGO wasn't making any official sets for the film, I was pretty disappointed. That is until I found these figures on minifigs.me. The detail and quality is just incredible on all of these figures. And the cool thing about them is that the details are printed onto official LEGO minifigure pieces, so they don't feel like your typical custom. Minifigs.me has a huge list of characters from all the best movies and TV shows. They even have your favorite singers and an option to create a custom minifigure of yourself. If you want any of these cool figures, click the minifigs.me link in the description, and you'll be able to get 10% off your first purchase. The discount code will automatically be added to your cart when you click the link. Now let's get back to the video. Here's some animation tips. So first things first, I animate at 16 frames per second. If you're just getting started, I recommend using anywhere around 12 frames per second and working your way up from there. One super important tip to have in mind when animating a fight scene is easing in and out. This will make your fight scene flow a lot more naturally. For example, when animating a punch, have the minifigure wind up slowly, then punch super fast, then slow down towards the end. Another tip to make your fight scenes more realistic is to have the minifigures facing each other at all times, even when their body is turning. This may be difficult with minifigures that have long hair or hood pieces, but even just turning the headpiece a little bit if possible will help. One tip that I don't see many other brick filmers using is the interaction between the fight scene and the environment around it. In my video, Avengers vs. Doctor Doom 2, you can see that I used the environment that I built to make the fight scene more impactful and dynamic. You can use pieces around your set to show how powerful different characters really are. Like in this clip where Scarlet Witch is charging an energy blast that causes structures around the city to be drawn into it. It's all about showing the different impacts that each character has, which brings me to the next point. One way I use camera movement in a fight scene is giving it a shaking effect when filming a moment that has a big impact. For example, when the diner sign hits the ground in this scene, the camera shakes a little. To do this, you just need to slightly push the camera downwards on the impact frame, then keep switching from upwards to downwards for the next few frames. Make sure to keep it subtle unless the scene calls for a super big impact. Another super important way I use camera work in fight scenes is making sure to follow the fight. When there are any abrupt movements, I make sure to have the camera move quickly to stay focused on the minifigures. You can also ease in and out of some camera shots to create some cool cinematic zooms and other fun kind of shots, like this one. In vvbstudio Pro, I learned that you can change the camera settings to 0.5, allowing you to get much closer to the minifigures. And this allowed me to make very cinematic shots. Now let's move on to sound effects. I can't stress enough how important it is to have good sound effects. It can take an okay animation and bring it to the next level. For my videos, I use a good mix of YouTube and CapCut sounds. On YouTube, you can simply search for the sound you want, and there will likely be a video that has exactly what you're looking for. CapCut, on the other hand, has much more basic sound effects, which are good for punches and kicks. Now, I personally use lots of sound effects, as you can see right here. Each little sliver is one sound effect. To make your scene more realistic, I suggest adding clothing movement noises, as well as swishes and whooshes. When a minifigure swings a punch, you can add these to really emphasize the motion. For different levels of impacts, you can also use different volume crashes or thuds. Also, don't forget to add music. There are countless copyright-free options on YouTube, and it can make your scene a lot more interesting if you pick the right one. One extra thing that I like to do to see if my sound effects fit right is listen to them without watching the video. This will allow you to catch any weird sound effects, like one that's too loud or if there's an unnaturally long gap between them. Something else I do often is changing the set mid-video. In the scene playing in the background, I have Scarlet Witch facing off with Doctor Doom in a city setting, but she uses her powers to enter his mind, so I created a cool graveyard set with red lighting just to change things up a bit. A final tip that I have for you guys is to picture yourself as a director. Animating with Lego is like creating your own movie with whatever cast you want, and you can essentially make the characters do whatever you want too. Even if you think your idea is too crazy or impossible, there's always a way to pull it off. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not perfect at animating fight scenes, and I still have a lot to learn. Some channels with incredible animations that I take a lot of inspiration from are Lincoln Pop 13, Nonstop Animations, NetBricks, and Huxleyberg Studios. The stop motion community is full of talented animators, so I encourage you to check out their videos too. I hope you were able to get something out of this tutorial. Comment down below what the most helpful tip was for you. See you guys later.